What if I told you there was once a tailor in Paris whose clothing was so perfect his customers never took them off, not because they didn't want to, but because they couldn't. In the late 1700s, as revolution swept through France, one man crafted garments so stunning, so flawless, that they almost seemed alive. His name was Etienne Moreau, a genius, an artist, a master of his craft. But behind his luxurious silk and lace was a horror stitched into every seam, because the finest fabric in his workshop wasn't fabric at all. Who was Etienne Moreau? Setting up the mystery. Etienne Moreau wasn't just any tailor. In 18th century Paris, fashion was power. The right coat could open doors. The perfect dress could make or break a noble's reputation. And no one understood this better than Moreau. His designs were legendary. Garments that fit too perfectly, almost like they had been molded to the wearer's body. Clothes so fine they seemed to move on their own. His clientele? The wealthiest aristocrats, secret courtiers of King Louis XVI, even performers at the grandest opera houses. But Moreau was different. Unlike other tailors, he never worked with assistants. He took no apprentices. He was rarely seen at the bustling textile markets. Yet his orders were always finished on time, as if crafted overnight by unseen hands. Then, people began to notice something strange. His customers, those who wore his finest creations, changed. Some became pale and weak, their faces gaunt and lifeless. Some disappeared without a trace, and those who were found, they were discovered in horrifying ways, their bodies twisted, contorted, almost as if their skin had been pulled too tight, their mouths sewn shut with fine black thread, their hands frozen in silent screams. Whispers spread through the streets. What was Etienne Moreau stitching into his clothes? And more importantly, where did he get his materials? The investigation. A night in the tailor's workshop. Mathilde Lavoisier had spent years chasing strange stories in Paris. She had uncovered scandals, exposed liars, and written about horrors hidden behind gilded doors. But this was different. Her friend, Colette Beaumont, a noblewoman with a taste for the extravagant, had vanished days after receiving a custom gown from Etienne Moreau. The tailor swore she had never picked it up, but Mathilde knew that was a lie. So one night, she did something reckless. She broke into his workshop. Paris was restless, the streets buzzing with revolution, but in the dim candlelight of Moreau's boutique, everything was too still. The air was thick with the scent of fabric. No, something deeper, something organic. Mannequins lined the walls, each dressed in a half-finished masterpiece. Dresses, cloaks, suits, every one of them shaped to an invisible body, as if the person inside had simply faded away. Then she saw the journal, a thick, leather-bound ledger resting beside a silver sewing needle. Mathilde flipped through its pages, her pulse hammering. Names, dozens of them, each with 2 dates beside them. The first, the day they were fitted for their garments. The second, the day they disappeared. And then, she saw Colette's name. Mathilde felt ice crawl up her spine. That was when she noticed something else, something worse. In the corner of the workshop, hidden beneath a velvet cloth, was a half-finished gown. The fabric, too soft, too warm. The seams weren't stitched with thread. They were stitched with veins. A sickening realization gripped her. Moreau's garments weren't just clothing. They were made from the people who wore them. And in that moment, a soft creak echoed behind her. A shadow stretched across the candlelight. Someone else was in the room. And then, in a voice smooth as silk, she heard the words, "You shouldn't be here." Mathilde froze. The voice was calm, smooth, almost amused. She turned slowly, her heart pounding against her ribs, and there, standing in the doorway, was Etienne Moreau. He wasn't like she had imagined. No wild-eyed madman, no blood-stained butcher. He was immaculate, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit that seemed to shift with the candlelight, as if it were alive. In his hand, he held a silver needle, its tip glistening in the dim glow. "You shouldn't be here," he repeated, stepping closer. Matilda clenched her fists, forcing herself to speak. "What have you done to them? To Colette? To all of them?" Moreau tilted his head, a slow smile spreading across his face. "Oh, my dear, I've made them beautiful." And then, something moved. Not Moreau, not Matilda, the gown on the mannequin. It shifted, twitched, a whisper of fabric against wood. Matilda's breath caught in her throat as she realized it was breathing. The bodice rose and fell as if lungs were trapped inside. The sleeves curled inward like lifeless hands, and when she stepped closer, she saw it. A face, stretched across the lining, barely visible beneath the translucent silk. Colette's face. Her lips were parted, frozen in an eternal scream, her eyes wide with horror, stitched shut with the same delicate black thread Moreau used for his garments. Matilda stumbled back, choking on a scream. Moreau let out a sigh, almost disappointed. "People never appreciate true craftsmanship," he murmured. Matilda's hands shook. This wasn't just murder. This was something else. These weren't just clothes. They were prisons, and the souls inside them, they were still alive. The living suit and the final terror. Matilda's breath came in sharp, panicked gasps. The candlelight flickered, casting long shadows over the grotesque mannequins that lined the room, each one draped in flesh-disguised fabric, stitched together with something darker than mere thread. But then, she saw it. At the center of the workshop, displayed like a masterpiece, was a suit unlike any other. Midnight black, its surface impossibly smooth, almost like polished leather. The buttons gleamed, and the seams were flawless. Too flawless. The suit was breathing. A slow, steady rise and fall, as if it had lungs trapped within its lining. The sleeves twitched. The fabric shuddered, reacting to her presence, like it could feel her watching. Matilda's stomach churned. This wasn't just a garment, it was alive. And then, Moreau whispered behind her, "My greatest work." She turned. He was closer now, his silver needle glinting in his hand. His eyes gleamed with something unnatural. "Every artist seeks perfection," he murmured. "I simply found a way to make it permanent." Matilda's eyes darted to the ledger, to the list of names. All those people, absorbed into his creations. Her voice trembled. "What is this suit?" Moreau's smile widened. "The last piece of my collection, the final soul to complete it." And that's when Matilda understood. The suit was empty, waiting for her. She turned to run, but the suit lunged, not with hands, not with legs, but as if pulled by invisible strings, moving on its own, the sleeves stretched toward her, fabric twisting, reaching like grasping fingers. A scream tore from Matilda's throat. She grabbed a burning candle and hurled it at the suit. Flames erupted, licking at the unnatural fabric. The suit let out a sound, a horrible shrieking wail, as if dozens of voices screamed in unison. Moreau's eyes widened, not in anger, but in pure terror, because for the first time, his creation was rejecting him. The suit turned on its master. It lunged, the burning fabric twisting around him, wrapping him in its own cursed embrace. The screams grew louder as Moreau struggled, his silver needle falling to the ground. And then, silence. The flames devoured both Tailor and suit, leaving behind only ashes and the faint scent of burnt silk. The Tailor's legacy. A final warning. Matilda barely escaped the workshop before the fire consumed it. By morning, Moreau was gone. His boutique reduced to nothing but soot and whispers. But here's the thing. Not all of his garments were destroyed. Some say his cursed creations were smuggled out of Paris before the fire, that they still exist, hidden in antique collections, waiting for their next wearer. And sometimes, even today, people find them. A jacket that fits too well, a dress that moves like a second skin, a coat that feels warm, even when no one's wearing it. So, if you ever stumble across an old, perfectly tailored garment, think twice before you put it on. Because some suits aren't just made to be worn. They're made to wear you. The escape. Moreau's vanishing act. Matilda didn't stop to watch Moreau burn. She ran. The workshop was collapsing around her, flames licking up the walls, the air thick with smoke and something worse, the scent of burning flesh that wasn't quite human. The suits writhed in the fire, twisting, screaming, not the crackling of fabric, but something alive, dying. She stumbled out into the cold Parisian streets, coughing, shaking, her mind racing. She had to tell someone. The police, the papers, the world had to know what Moreau had done. But when she returned in the morning, the shop was gone. Not just burned down, not reduced to rubble. Gone, no ash, no charred remains, just an empty street corner, as if the tailor's boutique had never existed. The only proof that it had ever been there was a single blackened silver needle, half buried in the cobblestones. Moreau himself? Vanished. Some say he burned that night, that the fire took him along with his cursed creations, but others whisper something else. That Moreau had planned for this, that he escaped into the very fabric of his own designs, and that one day, if you find a suit that fits too well, if a dress feels like it was made just for you, maybe, just maybe, it's him. Moreau was never seen again. No body, no bones, no trace of the workshop that had once stood in the heart of Paris, as if he had been stitched out of history, unraveled like a thread from an old coat. But whispers of his work never faded. They say his garments were never truly destroyed. That before the fire, some of them were sold, smuggled out of Paris, finding their way into the hands of collectors, hidden in the back rooms of forgotten boutiques. And sometimes, people find them. A jacket that fits too well, a dress that clings like a second skin, a cloak that feels warm even when no one is wearing it. Some who wear them claim to feel different. Their reflections seem sharper, their movements smoother, their bodies lighter. At first it feels like magic, and then the dreams begin. Dreams of Paris, of candlelight and silver needles, of a voice whispering behind them, and one by one, those who wear Moreau's creations disappear. Their clothes are always found, neatly hung, perfectly pressed, waiting for the next wearer. So if you ever stumble across an antique suit that feels like it was made just for you, maybe don't try it on, because once you wear a suit made by the devil's tailor, you may never take it off. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.